All right. Thank you for tuning in to Perks Pod Podcast. If you're listening to this on Spreaker or if you're watching slash listening to this on YouTube, thank you for listening. I have a podcast that I want to do today, and I do have a guest with me, a good friend, close enough to call a brother, Mr. Jayson E.
Jayson E.
Jayson E. I don't want to put your last name out there because, if they like you too much, they'll search you up and track you down. Anyway, we were going to go ahead and do this podcast, and the theme around it, kind of stemming off my masculinity podcast, what it means to be a man in this day and age. And the great thing is, we're both 25 years old, pretty much into the full swing of young adulthood, basically going into just regular adulthood. Um, Both have certain things that we do, certain lifestyles that we have as adults. Jayson here is actually a father, unlike I am, so he'll be able to add a little more insight to certain things than I will. But we're just gonna, dive into things and talk about how we view being a man in today's society, especially a young man. So first, Jayson, I want to ask, um, and we're going to cover all types of topics. Being a man in the eyes of your family, in the eyes of women, in the eyes of, especially for you, your own child, what you want to exemplify to him what being a man is. Um, what do you think is the biggest characteristic that identifies whether you are moving in society as what you truly believe to be as a functioning man?
Um. So basically, in my eyes, a functioning man is taking on the responsibilities that you have as uh, a a man without a child. Basically, say you, for example, since you don't have children, your responsibility is just to make sure yourself is taken care of, all your bills is taken care of, and if you have a significant other, whether that be a girlfriend, wife, or I don't want to say side chick because it's not really your responsibility to take care of her, but make sure that you and your significant other is taken care of.
Not 5 minutes into the podcast, you're already getting a little dicey, ain't
you? Sorry. So in my case, my vision of being a man is trying to provide anything my child could ever want or need in his life until the age of 18. And then I wouldn't say he's on his own, but by age of 18, he should have a mental image of his vision of being a man. And it also does differ per person. So my vision doesn't always have to be the same vision of what my son's vision is going to be.
Okay.
Like me and you, our visions might not be the same. We might have some similarities, but we could disagree on certain things.
Okay. All right. So real quick, you mentioned something very interesting. I want to bounce off of that. Both of us being people that have we're not so long past our years of turning 18. That's still fresh in our memories, fresh in seeing what it was like to turn that adult age and move from being under like truly under your parents' household to just being on your own and trying to make it as an adult in society. What would you expect? Like, what kind of outlook, or maybe I would say mentality, would you expect your son to have, or would you try to teach your son to have at least before he turns 18? Because you and me both know, just because you turn 18, you're a legal adult, don't mean you got it all together.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes that takes time and takes years to really manifest or to get all the pieces together. So, what would you expect your son to have at least by the time he turns 18, just mentally?
I wouldn't say 100% maturity, but I would like for him to have a decent amount of maturity. because uh, me leaving the house and going to do my own thing around 18 is the whole thing of you need to be able to mature fast enough because you have a lot of responsibilities to do. If you're staying with your parents, it's not wrong. It's not I wouldn't say it's bad to stay with your parents because especially in today's age, it is very hard to move out your parents' house and progress in your life with government stuff going on and etc. But you need to be mature enough to actually take care of your responsibilities and balance work and play. I know a lot of people that they just want to party all the time, but becoming an adult, that's not something that you can do 24/7. I know people that play a lot harder than they work, but sometimes it might work out for you, sometimes it won't.
Okay.
When I was hitting that age of getting out of my parents' house, it wasn't very much longer after where I had my son. I had my son at 20, so I never had that party phase, as you would say. But even now, I still take time out of my life to go out and enjoy a couple drinks with my friends or something like that. It's a balance.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So when you reach, that age of 18 and to have that sense of taking care of your responsibilities, obviously, as young adults, as young people entering the world, we're going to mess up, right? We're not going to be right every time, or we're not going to make the right decision every time. What would you say would be enough for you to see in your son to where you can continue to, with a clear conscience, support or help your son, if he's in need, like if he needs to stay with you, or financial help? Like, what is a situation, I'll ask that, what is a situation that you would see that would make you say, you know what, son, you're doing too much, you need to figure things out on your own? Like, what is the extent that they may either make poor decisions or lack thereof make any decisions that they need to make to succeed as an adult?
So about that, I need to take really think about it and take a mental note on how my son has ended up in that situation. I need to really think about it and look at the situation and think to myself, okay, how did he get there? What can I do or say to help him in that situation? Because regardless of how my relationship in the future is with my son, I will never say, okay, yeah, you're on your own. I'm not going to do anything for you, because obviously that's my blood. I love him. I will cherish him forever. But there's stipulations on that. Now, if he does something that he knows is wrong and he basically screws up and then comes to ask for my help, I'm going to tell him, I'll give you advice, but let's say money. If he says, okay, yeah, I found this brand new car, I want to buy it, but he knows he can't afford it. And he takes that money and he goes to buy it anyways, and he is late on rent later, hey, you got to find some way to make that money back. I'm not going to give you money because you knew that you couldn't afford that car.
So, off of that, you wouldn't extend any type of helping hand, like, hey, I'll help you out with this, because you made this poor decision, and end up help paying me back? Or would it be like a strike count, or maybe an age count, to where, like, because it's easy for young people to really make that decision, because if you try to be too independent too early, that's how people get you. Like, your dad talking about the whole situation with the car, where they didn't know what they were doing, and they went in to sell a car that was already paid for, and they got duped. Like, they really tricked them, and then they ended up in a situation that was worse off than what they were at the beginning. So what would you say, like, would you extend the olive branch if there's like maybe either like the nature of the situation or just how young they are in general?
Mm-hmm. I mean, so when I look at that situation, growing up, I will towards the future, I will give my son as much advice as I can.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said earlier, we're both 25. We're still growing as young adults as we are now.
Sure.
I have screwed up a lot since I turned 18. And I mean a lot. But as a young adult and when I was younger, I was always taught growing up takes messing up. You're going to mess up throughout life, but you're always going to learn from that. You're going to learn from past experiences. You're going to learn from everybody else's past experiences, even though they might not be the same. And what I can do for my son is give him the best advice that helps him become a better person and a better man. And if he chooses to take that advice, I'm proud of him. If he chooses not to take that advice, I mean, I'm not gonna say it's fin for yourself, but I'm giving it to you on a silver platter. I mean, you could take it if you want it. If not, okay, that's on you.
Yeah, there's definitely a certain extent to giving advice and whether the person takes that advice. I know I've had that moment with a lot of friends mostly, or I would say acquaintances, where they actually come to me for help and they ask for this advice, and I give them exactly what I feel would be the right move. And even sometimes they say, you know what, you're right, that is the right move. And they end up ignoring it anyway. No. And sometimes I think I will give them maybe like 1 or 2 chances, maybe 3 if I really feel like they have potential to get out of it or if I like them enough. But at one point, you do have to let people make their own mistakes and just learn from it and do what they need to get out of it. Mm-hmm. Okay, moving on from, I guess, that whole manly aspect of being a parent. Let's go to something that we both have experience with and also still have questions about to this day. What it means to be a man in the eyes of a woman. Yeah, that one. There's so many ways we can go with this one. But I would say this. What are, I would say, the top 3 characteristics you would say that you would advise any man to implement in themselves if they want to seriously pursue a woman worth having? So notice I mentioned not just pursuing a woman worth having.
It's a very hard topic because I've been through my fair share of relationships. I'm very lucky to have long relationships. I've very rarely had short relationships. Mm-hmm. But I would say that I'm a very old school type of person. Mm-hmm. My relationship, my envision is I want a relationship like they used to have in old days. Mm-hmm. I want a relationship where the man goes out and he works and he provides he pays the bills, he provides for the food and everything like that. And excuse me. And I would love a woman that wouldn't mind staying home and cooking and cleaning and mm-hmm. doing laundry and stuff like that. But in today's day and age, I know that's going to be very hard to find.
A lot harder to find.
Which is fine with me. I wouldn't mind getting a normal relationship as this society pertains to, which is 50-50, as some people like to say. It's not bad. But, I mean, when it comes to pursuing a woman like that and basically knowing if she's worth it, mm-hmm. It's a very skeptical question because you really have to get to know somebody to actually understand how they are as a person and how they're going to act later on in the future. You don't want somebody who's going to be, okay, yeah, you fall in love with them for the first year, and then after that, mm-hmm. it turns out they end up being a different person.
Yeah, and that's one of the really sad things that I hate to run into, because I see that a lot. Jayson mentioned a very good point that, just the way he wants to be a traditional man with a traditional woman. And sadly, a lot of man-eating women out there will hear that statement, what you just said, and they're going to hate you for it. Oh, you just want a woman that stays at home, cooks and cleans, does your laundry, takes care of the kids, just basically a woman under your thumb. And I definitely hate that outlook on things, because as a man that knows you and knows who you are, it's not at all what that is. No. Having a woman under your thumb. It's just the dividends of what needs to be done when governing a household. And you're just taking the traditional route where you're the breadwinner and you put it on the table and you make sure that your family stays fed, and that the woman is just the one that makes what needs to be made to keep them fed, and also just keeps the home, tight knit, organized, whatever it needs to be. And then when you guys come together, it's mutual respect, mutual love. No one person is above the other, because you guys are equal halves of a piece. And that's what I like to see things as. The type of person, that I am, I'm still kind of searching exactly what type of woman would be best for me. I will say that I don't think I'm going to gel more so with a traditional woman as of a woman like in this day and age who likes to go out and do her own thing. Only because, just my path in life. No. With me wanting to be an actor and to be out there and do my own thing, I find my personality and just my overall vibe gelling more so with other entrepreneurs or actors or actresses and people that go out and do their own thing, and people that are free-spirited and stuff like that. And that just goes to show that, like, whatever type of relationship that you want to have, whatever type of person you want your significant other to be, nothing has to be over the other. No one person has power over the other. It's just as simple as just mixing your views and making sure that you're compatible with what the other wants to do. Yeah. Because even though that may not be right for me, having a woman who just wants to stay home and do all this stuff and be taken care of while she's taking care of the house, that would be good for you. And not one of us will treat that woman lesser than she should be deserved to be treated. But it's just, just the compatibility of how you want to live and run your household. No. I will say that sometimes there's a disconnect when a woman wants to have that traditional man, but doesn't want to live that traditional lifestyle. Or what they'll do is they want the man to be in that traditional light, but then you notice that they're not picking up on some of the things that they're like that you would expect them to do at home. So say if you're in a relationship where you work, like maximum hours, like almost 60 hours a week, you're putting money on the table, you're putting food in your family's bellies, and say you're coming home constantly and you're realizing that daily chores or things that just need to be done around the house are not done, or are not getting done. Would you feel as if the woman is taking advantage of you, or would you feel as if the woman is just not, or there's just a disconnect on what should be done?
Absolutely, she is taking advantage of you. Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to sound harsh or anything, but I mean, if you're a woman, and I'm just saying this on my perspective. I'm not saying it as a woman's perspective, but if you're a woman and you're out in life seeking a traditional relationship or a traditional man, and you find one and you expect him to go to work, provide money for bills, food, and give you money for shopping or whatever, I expect the shit that you I expect the stuff that you're supposed to be doing to be done. Now, if there is a legitimate reason that it can't get done at that time, then that's fine. Mm-hmm. But if you're just sitting at home and you're not doing anything, or you're going out shopping or something like that, I suggest that you should get everything done first. Because you went out your way to look for a traditional relationship, you should uphold your side of the bargain.
Okay.
Now, 50-50 relationship, that's a little bit different. I was in kind of a 50-50 relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But it was in a sense of where I made sure the bills were paid.
Yeah.
I mean, I paid all the main bills, the rent, everything like that, and she paid for a lot of things for my son. And she did a lot of food buying.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind that. And then when it come to cooking and cleaning and everything like that, it was more of a 50-50 side of it. I mean, I was better at cooking, but and she can cook. But I enjoy that type of relationship more than anything because it shows me that you care enough to actually put an effort to basically better the relationship.
Yeah.
That's what's trying, like, that's what I have to really look at when I'm looking for females compared to you and a lot of other men is when it comes to relationship, there's not many females out anymore that want to sit there and take care of a child because it does cut into your party life. I'm not saying you can't do anything because, like I said before, I do make some time because as a parent you have to have some time to yourself to enjoy, breathe, relax. Even though when I am out with my friends, I'm still constantly thinking about my son. I mean, it's inevitable, but at least you have that little bit of time to yourself to have a beer at the bar, do something.
All right. Real quick, I wanna end this this part of the segment on something a little more I would say along the lines of kind of controversial, but I don't think it personally is. When we talk about the submissiveness of a woman, the submissiveness of a woman in a relationship, what is your definition of having a submissive significant other?
A submissive significant other?
A submissive significant other, because in biblical sense, and also what I believe, I think that the wife submits to the husband. However, some people are very, very threatened by that statement and the word submit. So I want you to give your definition and I'll give my quick definition, and we'll see where kind of like to see if we can explain to the women that may listen to this where our head's at with that word submissive.
I really couldn't tell you very much. I mean, I don't really look at a woman as being submissive, because I'm more of a when it comes out to a problem and everything, both of you should be able to speak your mind on the situation. Now, when it comes to doing that, it needs to be done in a certain manner or a certain way to where both of you aren't yelling and screaming, or one person is not right, one person's right and the other person's wrong. Because I mean, I get the saying, I understand, and I've heard the saying, women are always right. I don't believe it. I do not believe it. I mean, a lot of women, yes, you are very smart. You know a lot of things, but no, I do not believe that. Take my father, for example. My stepmom, she's very bright. She is very bright. She is very smart. She is very honest. But my father is also very smart, very honest, and I sometimes they have little disagreements, and sometimes I think my father's right. Sometimes I think my stepmom's right. And I feel like that's been like me in my relationships. There's sometimes in my ex relationship she would be right, sometimes I'd be wrong, but I don't believe that just because the male says something, that means the female's wrong. That's how I feel with what you mean submissive when it comes to a female.
So when I hear the word submissive, in a relationship, I do believe that the woman should submit to the man. However, when I say submission, I don't define that as giving up your right to an opinion your right to a decision, giving up whatever control you have over anything is to your husband. That's basically the opposite of what I mean. Because just like you said, even if it's not a technical 50-50 relationship, the decisions and the ideas that go into governing your household should be 50-50. It should not be a dictatorship in any way. However, there are certain things that people are better equipped with handling, especially in high stress situations.
Mm-hmm.
And not saying that men are always better to handle high stress situations. I've seen relationships where I've seen the man panic way more than the woman, and sometimes she makes definitely more sound decisions. However, I've always seen the man as the head of the household, the protector, the person that holds it down. And when certain decisions, especially hard decisions, need to be made, I feel like as long as the man has any type of maturity to them and ability to make those type of decisions, I feel like that they have not the immediate say so, but I feel like the best way to say it is a woman should submit to a man if a man can do right by her submission.
You want her, but you basically want her opinion on the situation.
No, not necessarily opinion, because I don't want just her opinion. I want the whatever is driving her to make that opinion, to have that opinion, or to make any decisions she makes. I want that to stay within the household because it's what drives it. But when it comes to certain things, certain decisions that need to be made, or even just submission of time, energy, body, whatever have you, because I mean, that may sound a little eccentric, but that's what we are as a couple, especially if you're married. Your bodies, everything, your soul belongs to each other. Mm-hmm. So by me saying a woman is submitting doesn't mean that the man doesn't have to give anything to her, but there's a certain beauty to a woman who submits to a man, and a man who recognizes that, respects it, and does everything he can to take care of her and protect her. And I feel like that's the even trade-off. That submission for that protection, respect, and love.
I agree with that.
And I think that it is definitely a work of art to see that happen. And sadly, a lot less women I've noticed are submitting to men. And no, technically, especially if you want to look at this religiously, you do not have to give that submission if you're not married. However, I am one who believes that dating didn't exist in biblical days. Mm-hmm. It was either you court, you marry the next freaking week, and then boom, just like that. There was no dating. So no, do I believe you have to submit your entire just livelihood to a man if you're just dating? No. Do I think you should show hints of it and show him what you could do and just, give him a taste of what it would like to be a wife? Yeah, I do believe that. Because if you completely hide everything that you would do as a wife, or just act as if it doesn't exist, then sometimes it's very hard for that to go forward. But also, the man has to show that he's worth that submission. And I think that's a very fine line. Ladies, never submit to a man that you feel like is not worthy of having any type of say-so in what you do with your life. If you see him, he's mature, he knows how to handle his stuff, he knows how to guide you when he needs to, you know how to support him, that's the right submission to give. Because not just like every woman is not willing to submit, not every man is willing to support. And that's a very big combination that I feel like really goes hand in hand. Now, I want to go ahead and segue into, I feel like, our final just talk about what it means to be a man. Society. Society is a scary, scary thing. It's turned into something that I honestly do not recognize nowadays. Whether it's entertainment, social media, pop culture, whatever have you, a lot has changed since we were kids. And I was thinking this to myself the other day. I don't blame old people anymore for the really sketchy stuff or really risque stuff that they be saying anymore. Because the jokes that me and you could have made 10 years ago, that I still kind of make in my head or with my close friends, if we were to make it on public TV, canceled, just like that. And for me, I feel like I'm in no way any type of misogynist, homophobe, anything like that. And I can make jokes and I can say things and I have certain opinions that if I say it out loud, I'm going to get ostracized by somebody. And maybe the masses, depending on who hears it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that now, and we're dealing with, like, I used to deal with people coming in the Cracker Barrel, 80, 90-year-old white guys that grew up in a whole different time. And they would make a joke, and they don't mean any harm by it, but other people would hear it and be like, whoa, dude, you can't say that. And we're not even 30 yet, and we're already starting to reach that time. We're already starting to reach that space where it's like a joke that I feel like would have been okay 10 years ago is not okay today. But anyway, society has changed views a lot. I would say what is the biggest change and the biggest disappointment when it comes to how you grew up and your parents taught you how to be a man, that society is kind of like, I don't like that, or maybe kind of putting that on the controversial side of things.
The newer generations. I was just kidding. No, so basically, when I was looking at my father growing up, and I was looking at everything he needed to do to provide for the family,
Mm-hmm.
everything, it was he grew up. I don't want to put too much of my family's business on, but growing up, my father didn't have much. So what he did was he did what anybody would do back in the day. He joined the military.
Yeah.
And now, 26, 27, 28 years later, you can look at him and see that he is very successful when it comes to the military, working on base, everything. He's very successful now. But that is because he has dedicated almost his whole life to providing for me and my little brother and my sisters, and basically trying to give us the best life he can.
Mm-hmm.
Now, today's society, you don't see any of that. You see kids trying to do the basically the easiest way to make money. Growing up, I wanted to be a gamer. I wanted to stream and make millions of dollars. And back in the day, when I was younger, that was a pipe dream.
Yeah.
We were just talking about this earlier. It was a pipe dream back in the day.
Yeah.
But now I can open my phone and go on YouTube and see a 13-year-old gamer that has only been gaming for a month making hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Because I'd be forgetting sometimes that we're technically older than YouTube. Because I think YouTube started in like, what, 02, 03?
It is wild.
So it's like when that first came up, it was just something to watch entertaining videos. And when you, like, as a kid, when you thought about, like, oh, I want to do something that nobody really thinks of, because, like I said, when we were kids, I grew up the same way. You know, military brats, just seeing our parents enter the military. I talked about it with my mom, saying that the college degree had more to its worth back in, like, the 80s and 90s than it does now.
Yep.
Because you have people getting out of college with a college degree working at freaking McDonald's and stuff as just a manager.
Yep.
And it's like the degrees don't hold the worth they had back in the day, because, dude, from the 60s to the 90s, man, that was like the factory and trade workers' best time. Like, and technically trade workers are definitely still valuable today, because not everybody knows how to do their stuff. And actually, I feel like they're becoming more valuable, because as we get into this age where everything's so available, I feel like less people are learning how to do things. So technically, I feel like trade workers, they're never going to go out of, like, business.
A lot of these newer generations are trying to basically get newer ways for either somebody else to do something for them, or making it easier for themselves to make money.
Yeah.
So you have all of these younger generations that are sitting here trying to make the easiest money, and it makes us look bad.
Yeah.
Because we're stuck in between the newer generation and the older generation.
Yes.
So now we look like, oh, we're just lazy and we want to make easy money too. But since I turned 18, I've had a job. Even before I was 18, I had a job.
Yeah.
And I've been working almost all my life since I was legally able to. And now I'm sitting here stuck in the newer generation. All these older people are sitting there looking at us when we walk into stores and say, oh, they're so lazy. They're just trying to make easy money. And I'm like, dude, no, I've been working. I've been busting my butt to make what I have.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing that I think a lot of people don't realize about people our age. That 95 to 2000 birth age, maybe give or take a couple years, we're not labeled as millennials, but we don't identify with Gen Z. I don't get deep into the generations. I don't get deep into none of that, zodiac signs, whatever. But you cannot deny the fact that the time that we were born just came at that crossroads. So it's like you have the expectations of the old and the disappointment of the new, because it's like we don't have this place to fit in truly, like, because you're being taught by the old school workers, the old school factory, military, trade workers, and then you're also growing up in the age where things are starting to transition to, just you said, the newer generation, the newer generation of work, the new generation of earning income, which is the takeoff of entrepreneurship, especially on social media, YouTube. People are starting to make money on Instagram and TikTok. You see all these young teenagers making bank off of TikTok just because they happen to have the pretty face and they do the one thing that draws most people's attention. I'm not gonna say it, but you know what it is. And it's crazy because you have all these expectations that you have from your parents, the people who raised you, and it's like when we became adults was at the time all that transition really hit fifth gear.
Yep.
So it's like when we became adults, that's when that shift happened, and we just didn't have the exact direction we needed to go. Because in the 80s, that direction was easy, bro.
Oh, yeah.
Go to either trade school or go to college, graduate, immediately get a job outside. There was no other alternatives. There was no other, segues. Just like the military was still solid. Still is today, but, just the new age, the new workforce, which is online, on our faces. Technically, we're doing it right now. People get paid so much money to do what we're doing right now.
Just talking.
And the crazy thing is, to really get into that early on, you would have had to start like at least 6-7 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, I think people will still get on it, but it's definitely a lot harder. But
it's more of a process.
Mm-hmm. It definitely is a process, and you have to have the patience and kind of the drive to go for it. I guess I get to benefit a little more so from the transition with me wanting to be an actor, not wanting to be a 9-to-5, job laborer. And I definitely could. Had a couple of jobs where I could have stayed there, climbed the ladder, done something, but it just wasn't me. I will say that when it comes to being a man in society's eyes, I don't think there's any outline for it anymore. One thing that I noticed and that I'm not afraid to speak on is that people have become confused on what a man should do, what a man is. I mean, people are finding it hard to define what a woman is nowadays.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, what do you think it would take for a man to do to be recognized by most people that is a man and he's doing what he needs to do?
Just make sure all your stuff is straight. Bills paid. Like I said before, you gotta have all your bills paid. You gotta have your life together. I mean, you really have to be. You have to present yourself in a certain way.
Okay, and I want to build on that. So when you say have your life together, because technically you could be damn near living house to house, but still technically have your bills paid for. Yeah. So that lifestyle, that image, that basically that just presentation that you're talking about that you said a man should have, what does that look like to you?
What I had. What I had. I'm definitely not going to put my business out there, but having, I would say having your own place. Having your own place and not having to rely on anybody. Mm-hmm. That means having your own place, being able to pay your own bills, being able to feed yourself, and that does not mean okay, yeah, you have your own place, so that means let's go to mommy and daddy's house and eat every night, because that's not fending for yourself.
You see that? I've seen that happen too.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there that do that. I mean, yes, it's a good way to save money and everything, but also, I mean, you're still depending on somebody. Mm-hmm. Stop going to your parents' house and eating, and cook yourself some food. Basically, just present yourself in a way that you're taking care of yourself. You're doing everything that you're for yourself. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying don't ask for help. If you are struggling, always ask for help. Don't sit here and act like a badass and be like, oh, well, I'm struggling a little bit, but I don't need nobody's help. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was like that at one point too, especially when I first moved out. I struggled. Like I said, today's day and age, it's not easy moving out, and not everybody will succeed. Not everybody will fail.
Boy, inflation in this housing market.
Oh yeah,
it'll kill you.
I'll tell you, I've been trying to buy a house for the past 2 years, and it's not working out very well.
All right, so now I'll just kind of play devil's advocate, so we can look at ourselves and be honest with ourselves. In what you said, in what you described, being a true man in today's society, we're not true men. Not yet.
No.
Now, we're both 25. Based on what you said, we're not true men. When we're talking about this, and for the people who may listen, is that such a bad thing? And if not, what advice or what words of wisdom would you give to the people that are our age and still trying to figure it out?
Keep pushing. I mean, like I said, it's hard. It's really hard. I'm gonna add on to what you were saying earlier, the bouncing from place to place. Mm-hmm. That's what screwed me up. Mm-hmm. Because I had a place. I was here. I was settled. I was in the same place since I came back to Georgia. I was here for 4 years, mm-hmm. and I had that same place. And then I decided to up and leave, and I moved to a totally different state. And then turns out I didn't like it down there, and I ended up moving back. And then now I have to start over. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm glad I did it, because, I mean, I was looking for that fresh start. Mm-hmm. Even though I moved back to the same place, now I know, okay, yeah, I know I'm going to do this. I know I'm going to do that. I have plans, and I've been doing nothing for the past 10, 11 months. I am doing nothing but making those plans, and I've been doing nothing but working on those plans. Mm-hmm. And I'm so close to succeeding in those plans. Yeah. But guess what? When I do succeed those plans, that's not it. Yeah. It's not done. It's not over with. And that's where a lot of people screw up, is because they get what they want and then
become complacent.
Yeah, they get comfortable. Yeah. You don't want to do that. You want to get what you want, and you want to strive for more. Yeah. The sky's the limit. Like, just because you're a supervisor in a job does not mean, okay, yeah, let's stop. You're making enough money. Let's stop. You don't want to be a supervisor in a job. You want to be the owner of that job. You want to own your own business. You want to run it. You want to tell everybody else what. You want to sit home and say, hey, go get that car and go sell it to them. You want to own your own business. And I feel like that's where a lot of people mess up nowadays is they want to do the bare minimum.
Yeah.
And I don't plan on doing that.
Neither of us do. And so dropping the poking at selves question, I want to go ahead and kind of change, or I would say transform the idea of what it means to be a man from what you said. And I think in my deepest heart, I truly think that a true man in this world will strive to do what is best for him and the ones close to him, strive to grow, and strive to constantly produce whatever he needs to make sure that his and his family's future is as well taken care of as he can. Because no matter how old you are, there are moments that you will have in this life where life is going to beat your ass. It's going to beat you down. And that's at any age.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are people who are in their 40s and 50s who may feel lost and feel like they don't know where to go or don't have anything that they feel for them, and they're trying to figure things out. In my eyes, I would never call them not a man, or I would never say that they're less of a man as I am. I feel like I lose respect for a man when they give up.
Yeah.
And it's fine if you have your lazy moments or just the moments where you lose motivation, because I had those moments.
Mm-hmm.
I've had those moments as recently as a couple months ago where I was shirking so many responsibilities because I felt so worn out from what I had done the previous years, the constant grinding, the constant working, feeling like I was just making money just to give it away, the constant stress of trying to upkeep a household and to make my significant other happy and to just build a home and take whatever other mental stresses that I had got thrown onto me. And there are points where I just didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to stay at home, and I just wanted to stay in bed and just rest and sleep and not do anything. And I had a very big wake-up call a month ago, and even leading up to my birthday, that I thought I was being slick about it, my laziness, but my mom, who is one of my best friends, she caught on. She saw it, and she was like, I admitted it to her on the celebration of my birthday, and she was like, oh yeah, I know. I noticed it. I saw it. I knew as soon as you told me this, and that happened, because I know you. I know who you are as a person. And not once did my mom ever think that I was less of a man for it.
Mm-hmm.
But what she did think was, there has to come a time where you got to get your stuff together and you got to get back on it. And it's only been a few months. And my situation financially and just personally has not changed drastically. However, she has seen the change in me getting back into that mindset of I need to make sure I take care of what I need to while I still pursue my dream career and everything. And I've started to get back into the gym, physically healthy. I'm steadily losing weight from everything that I gained through quarantine. And I had to kick that up a notch because I got lazy in my physical fitness in the last couple months as well. But as long as you do not say, screw it, I'm just going to do me, be lazy, not worry about anything, put all my responsibilities to the side, that's when I'll lose respect for you as a man. But as long as you're trying, as long as you're doing what you can or what you feel like you can in the moment, because sometimes we don't do everything that we can, but we just do what we know.
Yeah.
And I still respect that, because even though you could do better, it's a learning process. Yeah,
you're trying.
It's trial and error. So, for all the people out there that are struggling, that still trying to figure things out, hang in there. You know, it's a long, bumpy ride. I've seen people in their 60s and 70s go through some crazy stuff.
Oh yeah.
Go through some crazy stuff, and crazy stuff is gonna happen in your life regardless if you want it to or not. It's just how life is. But the best people that make it out of it are the ones who push through, are the ones who take what happened to them, turn it into a lesson or turn it into a positive, and they make it their weapon for future instances. As long as you're learning and taking what you know what has happened and you're applying it to whatever situation happens in the future, that's the best you can do. And you know, sometimes you don't have those people around to help. Sometimes you do. You just got to work with what you got. That's just how it is. It's just living. And the crazy thing is that doesn't even necessarily have to be about a man. You know, everyone goes through it. Man, woman, whatever.
I mean, as long as you're trying. I mean, and people see that you're trying. Mm-hmm. If you fall, there's always going to be somebody who's going to help you back up. Yeah. I mean, whether that be family, friends, or I've met people that I never even knew before that, I mean, I fell and then talked to me on the side of the road. Hey, how you doing? I mean, I tell them a little bit. I mean, I don't just go around telling strangers on how my life is going, but I mean, there's a lot of people out there that actually will listen to you and help you through what you're going and everything like that, man.
And I just thought about something. And I want you to end this on this note because I do think it's a beautiful thing. Some people, when they say, I didn't have anybody or I did it all on my own, when they say that, they're never really thinking all the way through that there was someone somewhere that did something for you. Because technically, you could say right now that you made it through a lot on your own and that you did a lot by yourself. However, technically it wasn't, because I want you to elaborate on what I love to hear when you've had your moments, depressing moments where you were at your lowest, and that guy right there helped keep you in contact. And I know you're not seeing this, but I'm pointing right at a collage picture of his wonderful, handsome son. I want you to tell everyone just what he did for you, just being there and being in your life and giving you the strength that you need to push through the toughest moments you've had.
I'll start by saying before my son came, I wasn't really depressed. It was more of a sense of I was just walking through life. Like, I wasn't really paying attention to anything. I hated school. I mean, I love sports, but obviously, once you hit high school, you can't play sports unless you have good grades. So since I hated school, I had bad grades. And I'm not dumb. I mean, it's just the fact that I just didn't like it. I mean, I didn't pay attention. I mean, I'd rather be outside throwing a baseball or a football. And once I graduated and everything, and I ended up joining the military, my son came along. And then that's where my true happiness really came into the picture, because after that day, while I was in the delivery room, I looked at him when he was first born, and I was like, dang, that right there is a bundle of joy, like pure joy. I mean, that is what I have to live for. I mean, I have wonderful friends that if I'm ever feeling down or anything, I can call and they'll basically give me a pep talk or make me laugh or whatever. I have plenty of friends like that. But when you sit there and look at something that it has came from you, it's a totally different feeling. And every single time I wake up in the mornings and I see his face, and I'll give you an example. He's a totally different person to me when it comes to mornings. And if anybody knows me, they know when they wake me up in the morning, it's not very pretty. But when I go in the room and I wake my son up, he's got this brightest and biggest smile on his face, and it does nothing but brighten my day up and just make me smile and make my heart jump out of my chest.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to thinking about being a man or thinking about anything when it comes to life, the only thing I can think of is him. I'm living my life to protect and cherish and provide for him. So if I ever feel down or depressed, or a relationship doesn't happen the way I want it to, or I feel lonely or anything like that, the only thing I do is think about him. I mean, and then boom, I'm up, I'm happy, I'm ready for the next day. He is the reason why I get up every morning. He is the reason why I try to pursue a better life and a better job and try to be a better person overall.
Yeah. And it's crazy how many times I've talked to people, and, you know, not necessarily the idea of having a child, but sometimes when unexpected pregnancies or, you know, things of that nature, when they happen, at first it seems like the scariest thing in the world, probably.
It's scary.
I've had a pregnancy scare, and I was already, like, about to die. So I can only imagine, you know, confirmed pregnancy, like, oh yeah, you got a due date and everything. But, you know, sometimes those scary things can really come out and turn around to be just the anchor that you needed. And, you know, I can't really relate not being a father. But I've had unexpected anchors before. Just people in my life that, you know, didn't expect to be there solid with me like that. And, you know, a support system doesn't always have to be financial. It doesn't always have to be people that just got money to help you out with. Sometimes that support system can be one person long, one person big, one group. And it just like you said, it ain't even got to be something that someone says. All it takes is for you to see your son smile at you in the morning, and that just gives you the energy for what you need to do, whatever you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, sometimes I look back on a few months ago when I didn't have anything to see and be like, okay, that's the reason why I need to get up and do things. I got into my lazy comfort zone, and I didn't have something to look at and be like, okay, you really need to get your stuff together. But that person that showed me I really needed to do that ended up being my mom. And it was just, and she was so patient with me. And the crazy thing is, she noticed these things, and I didn't realize how patient she was truly being until my birthday, when I realized that she noticed that off rip, me getting to my lazy stage. And I'm so grateful that she didn't, like, come after my ass, because she really could have. You know, she definitely had every right to be like, you lazy, turning into a no good for nothing son, you better get your ass up and do what you need to do. But she was patient with me, and eventually I found my own groove. And sometimes that's what you got to do. You got to be patient. You got to just find your way of doing things. And sometimes it's never easy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's never easy, especially if you got to change something that you're used to doing. You know, we just talked about this with your parents. You know, the habits and just what your body is used to. It's hard to change it. But you know what? An aspect of being a true man in my eyes, and even a true woman, a strong woman, a strong man, strong woman, is when you can understand your own flaws, and when you can muster the strength to do what you need to do to change it. And it won't happen overnight. It's not going to happen in the blink of an eye. It will take time.
Process.
And sometimes a lot of people, if they have to take a step back, or if they find themselves at like a plateau where they can't get further, they'll get down, they get depressed and feel like, oh, I can't move past this or whatever.
Yeah.
But you're never going to go through life without running into walls. And the crazy thing is, what people don't realize, there's so many ways of getting over walls. Climbing over it, going around it may take longer. Getting TNT together to blow a freaking hole through it. But whatever you need to do to just muscle through it and to find your process of moving through those obstacles is a work of art. It is hard, but it is definitely doable. And it is something that should be practiced by everyone, especially young people. Get used to it. That's why I am a firm believer that I need my son's school to have a lot of bullies in it. I need bullies everywhere. There was a stand-up comedian that said a joke, and it was like, "Oh yeah, this is a no bully policy school," and he was like, "Well, taking my son out of this." Because bullies helped me become the person I am, and without that toughness, without that adversity, and I say this for my daughter too, I hope my daughter runs into bullies. And guess what? Me and whoever my future wife is, because I'm gonna get with the right woman now. We gonna teach her how to defend herself, and that's one thing. As a man who wants to have future children, if I end up having a daughter, I want to do everything that I can to raise her to do the things that she needs to do on her own, but also appreciate the help of a man properly. Because that's one thing I've noticed is that sometimes there's certain extremes. You have people like, I'm not gonna call no names, but your sister, that they'll want a man to do any and everything for them, and they don't want to lift no fingers. But then you also have women that will be so strong and independent to the point where it's almost toxic, and a point where it almost pushes men away, because it's like, when you have that attitude of like, I don't need you, I can do my own thing, I can do my stuff all by myself, it's not attractive. I'm sorry. I find that the happy medium is being a woman who is able to do anything she needs to do on her own, but if a man decides to do it for her, she's properly appreciative, and she allows him to do what he needs to do without, taking advantage of the man. I hate the fact that, I remember I had a conversation with your sister, and she said, I never pump my own gas. I always get someone else to get it for me. I always get my male friends to go take my car to pump my gas for me.
See, that situation, though, it's very... I'm not saying it's right, because it's not, because you have to be a certain amount of independent to be able to do things yourself. And but the reason why she's like that is because she learned it from my stepmom. And I'm not gonna lie, I mean, my dad pumps my stepmom's gas all the time. She will run it until it's completely almost empty. And my dad will come home from work and take it to the gas station, fill it up for her. But the thing is, she knows if my dad's not here and she can't do it, and I'm not here and I'm not going to do it for her, then she can take it to the gas station.
See, that's the difference, though. Because as a man, as a boyfriend, and as a husband, I did that for my ex. I pumped her gas all the time. And one time she asked me to, and I was like, sure, I'll do it. And we just got into that routine. Now, I would be very interested to see what a woman would say if she'd be like, can you pump my gas? She'd be like, this is your car, you can pump your own gas. And I mean, it might come off really rude, but just the fact that, I did it out of my own volition. Your dad does it because he just wants to please her, do stuff for her. But that's the one thing about your stepmom, is that if all else fails, she can do it by herself. She'll have no problem with doing it by herself. Your sister will wait until a male friend, a man, makes themselves available to go get that gas done.
Well, see, it's like my previous relationship. We would exchange cars every once in a while. So she would drive mine and I would drive hers. But when it came down to it, is I always made sure her gas was completely topped off. So every single time I would drive, I would take her car to the gas station on the way home, and make sure it's good. And
Your phone's about to die.
If it dies, it dies.
Oh yeah, for those listening, we actually had Jayson's Facebook Live, right?
Yeah.
Facebook Live going on while we were doing this. So, let me see. But you can continue.
But yeah. So but that's the type of person I am. I wanted to make sure her gas was topped off and everything, so she didn't have to get out and do it herself.
Well, there's no outlet over here, so it's probably gonna pass away.
If my phone dies, guys, it's nice hearing y'all. But that's another point whenever it comes to the taking care of a woman.
Yeah.
Is I'm not gonna say I don't believe women should have to pump gas. I just believe they should know how to. So if it came down to it and they needed to, they should be able to.
Best believe my future daughter will, if I have one, will know how to do basic things. Especially if she has her own car, she'll know how to change a tire. She'll know how to change a headlight. She'll know how to check oil, do all that. Because there's some women who you'd be like, check the oil, and they'll be like, how do that?
What's oil?
Well,
what's oil?
But I feel like that's also another thing with being a man is just how to not necessarily how to like teach your daughter, but just how to interact with women in general. Not necessarily like woman you're interested, just dealing with random women on the street. I like how have you seen the memes that they make of Keanu Reeves, where like every time he's in a picture with a woman, he puts his arm around, but it's never touching.
Yeah,
I think that's hilarious, and you know exactly why he does that, because of everything that's going on with celebrities, females, accusational stuff, and not to say that none of that stuff is real or none of the accusations are true, but I don't know, it's just it's a crazy time to be a man right now. Especially if you're a man with opinions.
All eyes are on us.
Yeah, men with opinions. Do not anger the Karen, because she will come after you, your family, your finances, everything you own, everything that you're gonna do. It's scary. There's other people, other groups that I refuse to talk about publicly. Because just a whole bunch of political stuff. But I'm glad that I had this conversation with you. I'm glad that you were able to have this conversation with whoever will end up listening. I think that I feel like we've given a lot of insight to how it just feels mentally and how we see the lens of this world through our eyes as men. This is definitely mostly for the women to hear, to possibly empathize. I feel like a lot of men will, if they do listen to it, they'll be like, they'll see where we're coming from.
Yeah.
But we just really wanted to just speak to just everyone. Talk to the women and show you what it is to look at things through our eyes. Talk to the men out there who need help, need guidance. Or maybe just don't even need that, just want to know that there's other people out there like them, because there always is. No one's ever alone in what you're going through or, your situation. So, really happy to have you here, Jayson E. And that's just about wraps. You got anything else to say to the people?
Not really. Just hope you guys are having a great time.
You cheesy bastard. Anyway, thank you guys for listening to Perk Spot Podcast. Hopefully I'll get some more podcasting content out to y'all. This was such a constructive conversation that I feel like I'll definitely have Jayson as a guest on a few more podcasts in the future. But y'all just let me know if, what y'all think. If y'all have any constructive criticism or any future topics that we could go on. So, like I said, thank you for listening. and I'll speak to you guys next time.
Bye.